Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And today I'm going to be talking about identity. The specific topic is finding your true identity. How do you identify who you are, and how do you find a positive identity? Who are you is a really good question because it's going to be something different for everyone, and it's sort of the age-old question. It's what we continue to ask ourselves from an early age throughout life. And, you know, the first thing that I want to say regarding this is you are not your eating disorder. So many people think that they are their eating disorder. Maybe they don't want to be just their eating disorder, but they really think that that is who they are. And it's very hard to break away from that. Now, a lot of people don't want to break away from that because they feel that without their eating disorder, they'll have no identity. Then there are people that want to break away from it because they don't want that to be their only identity, but they don't know how to do that. It took me a long time to realize that my eating disorder was not my identity, and even more than that, that being skinny was not my identity. There's so much more to life than this, and there should be. And sometimes, because it's such a simple thing, it's really hard for us to grasp and come to terms with. But when I was growing up, I was always the thinnest friend. I wasn't the thin friend. I was the thinnest girl that anybody knew. And I just took so much pride in that it became part of my identity. And it really should not have become part of my identity. But because of certain things within my life, bullying and people focusing much more on my looks than on any other attributes that I might have, I just sort of thought that if I wasn't the skinniest girl that anyone knew, then who was I? Then I wouldn't really be myself. I thought that I really couldn't possibly be Arielle if I weighed 25 more pounds than I did, or something like that. I was thinking like this when I was 12. It wasn't like came to this conclusion when I was 20 or something like that. But it really took me a while to understand that I am not my eating disorder, and I am not my weight or my size or my stature or my frame or any of those things. I wrote a blog post way back in 2008 called Filling the Gap, and it basically talks about how you can start to find your own identity when you are ready to give up your eating disorder, because so many people feel that they're not going to have anything left. They've had an eating disorder for so long, they don't know who they are without it. And it can be really scary. It can be really daunting. It just seems like too much work. You don't want to have to figure out who you are and what you really like and what you really want to do, and things like that. So I'm just going to really quickly read you this post that I called Filling the Gap. It's very short. I think wondering how to fill the gap your eating disorder previously filled is very common. But remember, only you can answer the question of what to do next. And there is so much waiting for you. There are 1,000 possibilities at your fingertips, from the simple everyday things to the more complex life goals. You just have to ask yourself one question. What do you want to do? It's an open question with many possible answers, and that's the beauty of it. What's in your head and in your heart? What are your passions? What makes you feel good? Do you want to make new friends? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to get out in the job world? Do you want to pursue a dream you've often had in the back of your mind? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to travel? Now comes the obvious thought. We can't always do what we want to do. Finances get in the way. Time can be an issue. A lot of things can prevent us from doing what we want to do. But, and this is a big but, you never let things be an issue when finding a way to fit your eating disorder into your daily life, did you? Granted, money doesn't grow on trees, and lots of things that are very important take up our time. Understandable. Valid. But if you really want something, you can achieve it, and don't let anything stop you. Most importantly, think about what would make you happy. Come up with 3 things. Then find a way to incorporate them into your life. Fill that gap. There's no charge for that kind of fill up. And I always come back to this post to sort of give it as a response to people when they talk to me about finding out who they really are and, what are they going to do without their eating disorder? Because this is a huge, huge question in recovery. For me personally, I always knew that I was more than my eating disorder, and I always knew that I was more than the thin girl, but I thought that that was such a huge part of me that I couldn't possibly fill my time and life with enough things to overtake those two things. And I thought that I wouldn't quite be the same. I wouldn't quite be the same girl if I gave up my eating disorder, or if I wasn't as thin as I had been used to being. But neither of those things are true. And I'm telling you that for a reason. I'm telling you that so that you don't get scared, that you don't get freaked out, that you don't think if you gain weight or let go of your eating disorder that you are going to be a completely different individual. I always say that recovery from an eating disorder or recovery from anything is not a total transformation. It's just an adaptation. You become a better version of yourself. You become a revision of yourself. And it's a really cool process because it makes you realize that you are actually enhancing all of your best qualities and staying true to yourself instead of becoming a completely different person and scrapping the old you. So that's the way I like to think of it. But I have realized so much more since losing my eating disorder and, gaining weight. I have learned that I am a writer and I am a good friend and I am a helper, a social worker. I'm a wife and I'm a sister and I'm a daughter and I'm an artist. And I love all these things. I like to cook. I'm very, very creative. And while I knew that I was creative before when I was dealing with my eating disorder, letting go of the eating disorder really allowed me to delve into things that I didn't have time for before because my eating disorder was taking up so much of my time. I'm not the anorexic girl anymore. I don't have that looming over me. I don't have that creating my identity and persona with people that know me or people that I will meet. You know what? I'm not the skinniest girl anymore, and I like myself a lot, and I'm still me. I'm still Arielle at the core, and nothing's going to change that. And I hope to only get better with age and experience and the rest of my life. You have an identity outside of this, and if you think you don't, or you say you don't, and you can't possibly think of anything that can create your own identity outside of your eating disorder or your weight or your size or anything like that, then you're really selling yourself short and you're really making excuses for yourself because I promise you, you have an identity besides those things. So, last but not least, I'm going to leave you with some links to videos that relate to this topic that hopefully you will find helpful. They're videos that I've done in the past. And I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.